Waitress Frida works part-time as an animal-themed nail artist and lives with her best friend, Jess, in a rundown, mold-infested apartment, dreaming that she could live a better life someday. One day, as Frida prepares for work, she watches the billionaire CEO and owner of King Tech, Slater King, on TV, as he addresses the public after issuing an apology for his regrettable past behavior and admits that he has turned to therapy to change his ways and become a better person. Slater goes on to reveal that he has appointed his chief finance officer, Vic Mahoney, as the CEO of his company, and that he has relocated to an island he bought to process everything and heal from his past properly. Frida nostalgically remembers how nice Slater was when she met him while waitressing at his annual fundraiser gala the previous year. She spends a lot of time nostalgically rewatching the video, misses the bus, and runs late to her job where she begs her boss for another chance. Her boss gives her a last warning and asks her to stay invisible and do her job professionally as she serves the wealthy clients attending the prestigious Slater King fundraising annual gala. During the gala, Frida is starstruck to see Slater and watches his speech in awe. Then, at the end of the night, once they are finished with work, Jess gifts Frida a beautiful dress to wear to the cocktail party. However, as the ladies dress up and try to join the party, Frida slips and falls, attracting attention to herself. To Frida's utter shock, Slater runs towards her, helps her, and introduces himself. The two chit-chat a bit, and he takes her around introducing her to his colleagues and close friends, namely his new CEO Vic, his therapist Rich Stein, his childhood buddy and personal chef Cody, app developer Camilla, his security Stan, DJ Tom, reality show star Sarah. Slater and Frida spend time getting to know each other and enjoying each other's company. Later, Jess joins her best friend, and the girls spend the rest of the night as one of the guests, drinking expensive champagne and having a blast. By the end of the night, Slater prepares to head back to his island and invites Frida and Jess to join him. The girls are happy to join the wealthy party aboard a private plane where they are wined and dined. After a few hours of flight, the group reaches the island, and the guests are driven to Slater's extravagant mansion. Upon their arrival, Stacy confiscates everyone's phone in the name of off-the-grid wellness. There, Slater escorts Frida to her grand room and shows her around before leaving to join the men at the pool. Frida looks around her room impressed, takes a shower, and puts on the fancy Desideria perfume put there for her. As she gets dressed, an elderly maid enters her room to clean but is flabbergasted by Frida's sight as she recognizes her. The old lady approaches Frida and addresses her as Red Rabbit, which leaves the waitress confused. Frida shakes the encounter off, gets dressed in a bathing suit she finds laid out in the room, and leaves the room to find Jess and the rest of the girls dressed exactly the same. The group spends the rest of the morning hanging out by the pool and relaxing while smoking weed. Frida and Sarah subtly fight each other for Slater's affection and try to outdo one another. Later, Slater takes Frida on a walk around the grounds, telling her about the indigenous Desideria flower. During the walk, the couple runs into Stacy, frantically getting things ready and making sure everyone enjoys their stay. Later that night, Cody prepares a fancy dinner for everyone. The women all dress in identical gowns, and the group gathers around a giant dining table to enjoy a candle-lit dinner. During the dinner, the men tease each other and have fun while questioning Vic about how he lost his pinky. Vic changes the subject and presents everyone with a potent hallucinogenic cannabis drug, which disorients them and makes them high. Everyone dances and has a good time into the wee hours of the night. Later, when Frida prepares for bed, she's shocked the stain on her dress from the dinner is no longer there and wonders why she couldn't remember changing gowns. The next day, the group spends the day at the pool, and Frida watches the old maid collecting snakes in the garden from afar and wonders what's going on. The same routine goes on for the next few days, as the group spends the day relaxing, enjoying fine dining, and the night, high out of their minds and partying. One night, Frida and Slater spend the evening talking, and Slater lets her try his vaporizer. He then compliments her about the cute animal designs on her nail polish and asks her about the scar on her fingers, which she doesn't remember how she got. The next morning, Frida is confused to find dirt under her fingers, but shakes it off to go to Slater's room to return his vaporizer. There, Frida meets Dr. Rich and is confused when he doesn't seem to recognize her and introduces himself all over before receiving a red gift bag and leaving. Later that day, as Frida and Slater spend time talking, to Sarah's annoyance, Slater admits that he doesn't even know what day it is, but assures Frida that she can leave whenever she wants. As the good times keep rolling, Frida starts getting used to the high life, lets her guard down, and starts enjoying herself and being looked after. A few nights later, as the party goes on and everyone dances and has fun, they hear a sharp cry for help. They follow the sound and find Jess bleeding from a snake bite and panicking. Slater rushes over to the scared girl, crashes the snake, and calms her down. As the party resumes, Frida takes Jess aside to see how she's doing and finds her best friend terrified. Jess tearfully explains that she has an awful feeling about the island, their host, and just everything in general, and asks to go back. Frida attributes Jess's mental state to the shock she experienced and begs her to calm down and enjoy the good life for once in her life. Jess apologizes to her best friend for her request and retires to her room, where she suddenly gets a nosebleed. The next morning, Frida wakes up, and as she takes a walk, she finds a discarded red gift bag and follows its trail to the nearest room. There, she finds the room filled with red gift bags containing Desideria perfumes, and as she tries to figure out what's going on, she sees the old maid taking a shot. The maid offers her the drink, and as Frida drinks it, she learns that it's snake venom and runs out of the room scared. The next morning, Frida wakes up with a nosebleed and just feels under the weather. She joins the rest of the group for breakfast and tries to put on a happy face. The men then opt to go fishing while the women spend the day relaxing back at the mansion. As the women get pedicures, Frida suddenly realizes that Jess is nowhere to be seen and freaks out. She is more troubled when the other ladies claim that they don't even know Jess. She runs around the ground asking the staff about her missing best friend, to no avail. Frida then runs to Jess's room, finds it to be a storage room, and realizes that there's no trace of Jess anywhere. Sarah follows Frida into Jess's room and, after hearing her account, admits that she too feels uneasy. As they talk, the women realize that none of the women know the men well and regret being swayed by the glitz and glamour and accompanying them to a foreign island. Frida takes Sarah to the gift bag storage, shows her the perfumes, and gives her a drink of the snake venom. The ladies figure out that the perfume causes memory lapses and that the snake's venom is the antidote. They then decide to keep on pretending to be none the wiser, mix the venom with vodka, and give it to Camilla and Heather. While the women enjoy the laced vodka, Stacy joins them for a couple of drinks before announcing that the men are on their way and leaving to finish some errands. Frida then runs to Slater's room to find their phones while Sarah keeps a lookout by the pool. Moments later, the men return, and Slater asks around for Frida. Back in Slater's room, Frida finds the phones but is devastated to see that they're all out of service. Frida then hears Sarah's warning call, and as she rushes to put everything back, she finds multiple pictures of men carrying the red gift box, including Slater. Unfortunately, Slater comes into the room, and Frida hides under the desk holding her breath, during which time she gets a nosebleed, followed by the memory of events from the night before. Frida vividly remembers that the men had tied up all the women and raped them while they screamed in pain, right after which they realize Jess had gained her memory and killed her. Frida quietly weeps for her best friend and everything else before she sneaks back out, rejoins the rest of the group, and tells Sarah everything. Later that evening, over dinner, sadistic, gruesome memories of rape and torture flood Frida, but she tries to suppress it and carries on like usual. Then, as Lucas sits beside her, Frida smells the Desideria perfume on him and realizes he is also a victim. Right after dinner, hoping to mask what she's feeling, Frida all of a sudden starts dancing and is joined by Sarah, and after a few minutes by Heather and Camilla. The men enjoy themselves as the women go on top of the table dancing. Then the ladies start coupling up with the men and a dance party ensues. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the mansion, Stacy gets a nosebleed followed by a flood of memories and she is tormented. Back in the dining hall, as the party progresses, Sarah and Frida mask their emotions and carry on while Heather and Camilla suddenly get nosebleeds and become overwhelmed by terrible memories. Then a cry for help is heard as Camilla attacks Tom and pushes him into the pool. Chaos ensues as Heather chases Vic and beats him up with a rock. Unfortunately, Stan shoots and kills Heather and chases Frida into the woods. In the woods, Stan corners Frida, and as he proceeds to shoot her, Sarah comes to her rescue and crashes him with a brick. Meanwhile, Lucas carries all the injured men into Slater's separate villa and is joined by Cody and Slater, who carry in the tied-up Camilla and hide out there. As Camilla keeps screaming her lungs out, Slater strangles her to death. On the other side, Frida runs to Slater's room in the mansion and is shocked to stumble upon her picture among pictures of victims. Before she can process this, she is interrupted by Stacy, who proposes to let the men do whatever they want. A fight ensues, and Frida stabs Stacy to death. Then Frida shows Sarah her pictures and narrates that, although her memory is blocked, she had been at the mansion the year before. The ladies march to the villa, and Sarah hides in the woods while Frida knocks on the door. As Lucas opens the door, he is shot along with Cody by Sarah. Frida enters and gets in a fight with Slater, who tries to calm himself down by desperately inhaling his vaporizer, as he fills in her memory gap by confirming that she was there the year before, that he loved her red rabbit nail art, and that she bit off Vic's pinky when he tried to rape her. He then goes further to confess that he lied in his public apology and declares that forgetting is a gift. Sarah then starts shooting from outside and Slater runs out, captures her, and brings her back to the villa tied up. He then proceeds to kill Sarah as both she and Frida scream bloody murder. All of a sudden, Slater goes into a daze, freaks out seeing all the dead bodies and chaos around him, and asks what's going on. Frida then discreetly shows Sarah that she had replaced Slater's medication in his vaporizer with desideria, which has erased his memory. Outside, the old maid watches in relief and happiness as the villa starts going up in flames. Sarah and Frida crawl out of the villa, drag the unconscious Slater, and take a moment to catch their breath. A year later, Slater meets Dr. Rich at the annual fundraising gala, but their interaction is quite awkward to the confusion of the doctor. The movie ends as everyone, including Slater, applauds Frida King, who is introduced to give a speech as the CEO of the King Tech, while her husband Slater takes his desideria medication.